The Gartland Group presents Taxes, the IRS, and You with your host, Bernie Gartland. Taxes, the IRS, and You is a different kind of show that'll help you solve your tax problems. As former Deputy Attorney General of the state of Delaware and with over 25 years of experience as sole practitioner in both Delaware and California, the name Bernie Gartland has become synonymous with taxes. And now your host, Bernie Gartland.
Hey everybody, Bernie Gartland. The name of the program is Taxes, the IRS, and You. And we are a different kind of show. We talk about taxes, we talk about real estate, we talk about trusts. And today we have a special guest. In fact, we have two special guests today. And Mike Lyons is here, and he's going to explain to you who he is and why we're talking to him. And we're going to tell you what caused him to be here and what we did for him. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to Mike Lyons, and I want him to say to you everything that you need to know about him. So, Mike, how you doing?
Well, I'm doing all right, Bernie. Right. That's a pretty big order, but I think I can handle it.
Well, I see you have Lyons International Golf School.
That's right.
I know that. You
right.
had a school, a very, very successful school in Canada.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
And then you do a lot of roaming around because you...
well, yeah, I'm a typical golf pro. We just kind of move around a little bit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you brought me from a 22 down to a 10.
Are you sure? Is that right? That's the truth, right?
Yeah,
well,
it is the truth. Oh, and I'm still playing from the blues. I'm 73 and still playing from the blues. And so I got that instruction of how to finish my swing with you. In fact, the first time that we went out for a lesson, you looked at me and said, you need to go up to the restaurant and take a look at the picture they have there of Tiger Woods.
That's right.
And I said, why do I need to take a look at Tiger Woods? He says, just take a look at his hands. And his hands were like this. Yeah. He says, you're not doing it, and if you're going to succeed in this, you got to learn how to turn it.
Well, that was part of it. That was kind of a visual for you.
Yeah, right. That was a visual.
There was a few more preparatory things before that, but that's right.
So tell the folks your history. Where you come from. I know that you played professionally. I know you played in high school. I know that you. I don't think you ever lost in high school, did you?
Myself or our school?
Your school.
Yeah, well, our school didn't. No, we had one of the top schools in Southern California for a long time. Then I was California high school champion at that time, which was 1963. At that
1914.
Yeah. But he's a good friend of ours, Dennis Pogue, who was a pro over at Indian Canyon, was on our same team. We went to school together. But I started down here in the desert in 1969. I came here from Oceanside. I went to University of Wyoming. And then after I came back, I ended up down here in the valley, and a lot of us guys did. In fact, Davey Evans, who was at La Quinta, came here at the same time, and he was caddying at La Quinta at that time. Tony Manzoni had just come down, who's at the College of Desert.
Yes, he is.
I work with him right now. And Tony came down and was with Ken Venturi at Mission Hills, and then went to the Cathedral Canyon. So a lot of history there. But so then in the period after that, of course, I had a family. I played the mini tours. I did all those type of things that a lot of us wanted to do. But we came down here for a particular reason. We came down here to try to get a sponsor so we could go play.
Yeah, and that was the idea. Didn't your dad teach Dennis Pogue?
Yeah, my dad did. Yeah, he was at Oceanside Country Club in Oceanside, California, and so he was Dennis's major teacher, and he was a great teacher too, and a great pro. But it's a different type of people at that time, though. The pros were a little different, and I don't know how you want to call it, a little more real. They were just regular guys.
Dennis, if you're watching this program, I got to say hello to you because you're one of my favorite people in this world.
Yeah, me too, Dennis. Yeah,
it's really good. Before you go into more, because you ended up in Phoenix at some point.
Yeah, I did. I went to Phoenix, and I was the golf pro there for the San Francisco Giants. I was at that course there for almost 9 years at Francisco Grande Resorts, and that was when I did most of when I was playing my best. And then I had a great golf course, and we had great membership, and got involved with the PGA quite a bit at that time. And then my daughter was born there. And then my daughter was born in Cottonwood, Arizona. And then my son was born in Casa Grande. And then we came down, we went from there to, end up going from there to Canada. We left later on and moved all the family up to Canada where my wife was from, and raised my children there. And then I started Wolf Creek International Golf Schools at Wolf Creek Golf Resort, which was one of the top golf courses in Canada, in Alberta. And that was a kind of a heyday for us. We had a terrific golf school. We had great clients, had a lot of good young people working for me. In fact, I'd sent over 40 young people to the States on scholarships to play golf down here. A lot of them went to Tony Manzoni at COD. So those things all happened, and then over a period of time, things started to change a little bit. The kids grew up, and they went to university down here. My daughter went to University of Wyoming, was 5 times All-American, and for University of Wyoming in track and field. And now she's in Cedar City as a strength and conditioning coach for the University of Southern Utah.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, because a lot of the you people that are interested in golf, you may know a name called Mo Norman.
Right, that's right.
Now, there's a lot of people that don't know Mo Norman. And by the way, there's a lot of teachers that think they're teaching what they think Mo Norman did.
Right.
You had the privilege. Mo Norman, for you who do not understand Mo Norman, he's the most unknown, greatest golfer in the world.
Oh, that's right. And then a lot of people do know him now
Right.
because of the natural golf and all those type of things. Of course, it's after everything. And now
there's a
people,
book called Mo and Me. There's
that's
a book
right,
out,
Mo and Me. And yeah, there's some people down here. Dave Barr, he lives where I do over at Shadow Mountain. And Dave, of course, was one of the top players for in Canada for years. And,
but you played against Mo
Yeah,
Norman.
I played. Well, I got to play with him when in the 1970s. I was at Bermuda Dunes Country Club as an assistant for Pete Bruni at that time, and then Bill Ogden came in, and so during that period of time, we got a chance to go play the Canadian Tour because it was the only place to play, and that was in around 1974, something like that. And so we took off and played up there for 2 years. That's when it first started. There wasn't any money in it at all, but there was a lot of, it was just fantastic. It was a great presentation. And so Mo Norman and George Knudson and all those, Al Balding ran the tour, and all these old timers were playing the tour at that time. So we got to meet Mo Norman and travel across the country with him. Of course, I didn't know who he was before I got there, but he ended up being quite an eccentric individual, but he really helped the young people, really helped the young kids. And so, anyway, we got to play with him. I got tied with him in the Winnipeg Open. That was my biggest thing.
Yeah, I remember you telling me. You said I was tied at the turn.
Yeah, tied at the turn, and I shot 34 on the back nine, and he shot 28.
Yeah.
So that's all I know. So it was quite a deal. But that was. But there are a few of the old timers still down here.
And you and I, in about a minute or so, we're going to go to a break.
Okay.
And then we're going to get into why you came to the Gartland Group and availed yourself of the services here. But I met you when I went to a clinic down at the College of the Desert.
That's right, with Tony Manzoni and myself and Al Geiberger.
Al Geiberger.
And his son, yeah.
And you were assigned to me to help me with chipping.
With your chip shot, right.
And what you taught me that day still is in my repertoire.
Well, that's
because
great.
I work on it about just brushing, and brushing.
That's right, and holding the angle, that's right.
You and I have been knowing each other for several years, and it's because of that clinic that you learned what I do for a living, and then you gave me a call one day. So, folks, after the break, Mike is going to tell you why he came here and what we did or didn't do for you. Yes, we did it for him. So, after this self-professing... I promote my own self on my own show, so we got our commercial break right now.
That's good.
So on the break, after the break, we'll come on back. Are you suffering through sleepless nights because you haven't filed tax returns in several years? Hi, I'm Bernie Gartland for the Gartland Group. There is a solution. Let us bring your tax returns current and show you how you can pay the IRS on your terms, not theirs, and in some cases, without interest and penalties. For this or any other tax problem, the Gartland Group can help. Let us put control back in your life and have that control give you a future. No more sleepless nights. Hey everybody, Bernie Gartland, and we're back, and we're with Mike Lyons, a professional, a coaching professional, and he had the honor of playing against Mo Norman, which is incredible. I met him through his teaching school, as well as Al Geiberger and Tony Manzoni. And Mike is going to start talking to you now and let you know why he came to see us and what happened. It's pretty much of an incredible story. But first, I want to make sure that before we run out of time, that you are a teaching pro.
Oh, that's
and
right. That's what.
How do people get in touch with you?
Well, right now we're down at the College of the Desert. I was out the Trilogy last year, and then I came back to College of the Desert this year, and we're set up out there. They've got the range in really good shape, and so I've set my school up out there. We've been very busy, have a lot of students. So if somebody wants to get in touch with me, if they'd like to, and just inquire, they can. I can give my phone number if they'd like.
Yes, absolutely.
But my phone number is 760-413-0744. And if you forget that, then you can come out to College of the Desert, and I'm out there every day.
Or you can call me, and I'll give you
call
the phone
Bernie
number. Right. How did we come together for tax purposes? What was the issue, and why did you come here?
Well, you know, I think there's a lot of people down here, especially in this desert area, because people come down here to retire for different situations. I mean, we have a lot of single people, seniors in my area, whether a husband passed away, or there was divorces, or whatever happened. So when I decided to come back to the desert, which was 3 years ago, I'd been over in Mesquite, Nevada, and I had run a magazine over there for a period of time, and I wasn't teaching golf at that time. And I decided I was going to come back over here. So when I did, there were some things that I just hadn't taken care of. That's all. I mean, I had just wasn't really responsible for my taxes, and pretty soon I realized that there was 3 years that I hadn't really filed taxes, and then I finally catches up with me, and I get a letter from the IRS stating that I owed them $11,000 for 2008. Which of course
That's pretty significant.
Well, pretty significant for me, especially when I got here, because I wasn't rolling the cash at that time. So, so anyway, I put it off a little bit, and then all of a sudden it started affecting my Social Security, because when they wanted that $11,000, all of a sudden that Social Security, it also paid me another $9,000, and so all of a sudden they stopped my Social Security, and now they're taking that back until they get their money back. So now I'm looking at really around $20,000, and I'm going, oh, wait a minute, how do I take care of this? So I investigated a few things and put it off, and just like we do a lot of things, and out of that meeting that we had when we had the school, I'd seen a commercial with you on how you can help people. So I just called you up and went over and talked to you. Of course, we spent the first 45 minutes talking golf.
Yeah, of course.
But the main thing is I presented my situation that I wasn't even really aware of exactly where I was at. I just knew that I owed this money. And so with your help and going through what I needed to do, not only to my income tax, which actually after that $11,000 I ended up owing $21, which is I paid that really real quick.
And let me take interrupt here for a minute and explain some things to the people out there. When somebody comes in and says, I haven't filed in 3 years. It was 8, 9, and 10, I think, at that time. And the IRS says I owe $11,000. It's not just somebody, a novice, a layman, saying, hey, I owe $11,000 and I didn't file a tax return. How could this be? Well, what happens is, under a special Internal Revenue Code, Section 6020B, if you do not file a tax return, the IRS files it for you and can go after Social Security, which they did, and they say they're going to go after everything else. So it's just not a matter of saying, oh, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. There is a whole procedure that you have to go through. And what we did with Mike was, we sent to the IRS, we sent for everything they knew about him so that I could make an analysis of what they based that assessment on, okay? Because they make things up, they get certain records and so forth. So if we are going to rectify the situation, your situation, I needed to know what they know about you and what they based this assessment on. It's called an audit. People say, well, I wasn't audited by the IRS. Yes, you were, because they assessed you. So we got that information in. And then we realized that you had a lot of business deductions.
When
you were working for the magazine, you had all kinds of business deductions. And you know, the IRS doesn't know that, because you didn't file a tax return. So they just look at what they either guesstimate you owe, or you earn rather, or they look at 1099s or W-2s, but they don't give you any deductions. Now, Mike, once we get that information in, exactly what we did for you, we then prepared an original tax return. a lot of practitioners out there are not aware, and they do it incorrectly. They file a 1040X. They say, well, wait a minute, the IRS did a substitute return for you, so we filed a 1040X. That's not the proper form. They kick it back. It's an original tax return, and it's sent to a place called Audit Reconsideration.
Right.
And we had all the backup material. You don't send it up to this special place. Now, meanwhile, we're doing 9 and 10, which before they do a substitute return on you, and we send that up through the normal channels.
Right.
Okay. So now, with all the backup information for your expenses and so forth, we sent it up to the IRS. Now, folks, he owed the Social Security $9,000,
right,
and he owed $11,000 plus interest and penalties. Right. And when we did the tax return,
I owed $21.
$21.
And over a period of time, after they went through all the information,
right,
I got my $9,000 back from my Social Security.
Social Security.
So that was a great savings account. It really, it really changed things for me. Yeah, that was great.
And you didn't do an offer and compromise on $21, though, did you? No,
no, that's all right. But the main thing, it was just a great thing. Right. Meeting you, Bertie, not only when we gave you the lessons and having you as a friend, but to take the stress off of me as a single senior trying to restart myself again, and was a real blessing. So it was.
Well, and the thing too is that what's neat about what we do and what we're doing with you and for you is we're here. And we're going to do 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Right.
You know that at any time you can call, and we don't charge you for a call. We don't charge. It's not just because you're a friend.
Well, you care about people, and that's a different thing. I mean, you give way more than most people do, and you know that, and I think people that met you know that too. So you feel secure. You make people feel secure.
Let me see, $20,000 to $21.
That's right. That's it. Huh?
And you got a surprise in your bank account, I think you told me.
Oh, I did, yeah. I was waiting for this money to come back, and I didn't think I was going to get it back until June of the following year. And so all of a sudden, and then I had to wait, they were going to start paying me again. And I go, so I'm waiting and waiting and waiting, and all of a sudden I have another bank account over in Mesquite, Nevada. Right. And so I got a statement, and I thought I had a couple $100 left in there. And I looked in there, and I pulled it out, and I was with my girlfriend, Dana, who you know, and it said, there was $6,000 in my account. And I went, well, that's pretty good. That works out pretty good.
Well, you know,
that was pretty nice.
There's a legal term I use. I done good.
I done good. You did great. And I want to thank you,
everybody.
That was just great. Yeah, thanks, Brady.
Hi, folks. I'm Bernie Gartland of the Gartland Group. I want to introduce you to our tax expert of that group, Brian Bauer, who's also the CEO and enrolled agent of that group, American Tax Centers.
Well, you know, Bernie, American Tax Centers prides itself on doing your tax returns accurately. As a former tax auditor with the state of California for over 20 years, who better to handle your tax audit?
Let us put control back in your life and have that control give you a future.
Call today for a free consultation.
Hi, I'm Al Geiberger. As Mr. 59, I can teach you how to get out of trouble on the golf course. But when it comes to trouble with the IRS, I can't teach you a thing. That's why I went to someone I knew I could trust, Bernie Gartland and the Gartland Group. After seeing how they solved my IRS problems and handled my tax preparations, here's my tip from Mr. 59. Don't take your tax returns to anyone else.
Hey everybody, Bernie Gartland. Welcome back. I have Rob Lasorsa with me now. We're going to talk to him a little bit about why he's here, how he got to be here, and what he does for a living. One of the things that I produce the show, the Gartland Group produces the show, but also we do have, and I have to laugh because this is an unintentional plug, but Awesome Dude Video is the group that you don't see that's behind us and everything. And they always tell me, he says, Bernie, just have a conversation with your guests. Now, a lot of times, you know, we have Tim Berry on talking about trust. We got Brian Bauer talking about taxes. We've got Bill Howell talking about tax bankruptcies, you know. But today, we're just going to have a conversation with Rob Lasorsa. And what we're going to talk about is, who is he? What does he do for a living? How you can utilize his services if it applies. And why did he come to us? And what did we do for him? And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit, because there's a lot of extenuating circumstances in this particular case. So, Rob, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
And tell the folks a little bit about who you are, and the shirt you're wearing says "Perform Better." Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I came from the coaching profession. I was track and field coach for many years at various universities, North Carolina State, Syracuse, West Point for a number of years, Kent State University. Upon leaving that, after about 20 years in the mid-90s, I started with a company called MF Athletic and Perform Better, which is MF Athletic is a track and field equipment company, and Perform Better, a division of MF Athletic, is a strength development equipment company. And we're actually the largest distributor of track and field products in the world.
Okay, all right. And you also had at one time a website with guys that really were promoting your business, that were just kind of like consulting to you, and you put it up as like an association, and I'll tell the story later on how that got us in a little bit of a problem, but we rectified it, as a matter of fact. So what was going on in your life that several years ago you came to see us?
Well, it was 2002 or so, 2003. We had just moved to California from Ohio, and I got involved. The previous accountants I was working with in Ohio had retired, and when I got out here, I got involved with an organization that I thought was a legit organization called the National Audit Defense Network, NADN.
Yeah.
And so we sent them all our information for a couple of years and sent them a lot of money, and that's the last we saw of the money and of any of the information that we sent them.
The National Defense Network was based out of Las Vegas.
Yes.
And they did a massive advertising on how they could help everybody because they knew what to do. And I will go into more detail of why my inflection is something you don't even know, and I will explain it to the folks a little bit later. But when all of a sudden they didn't do anything, and they had all your books and records and everything, and you then how did you find us?
Well, they actually went bankrupt.
Yeah.
And of course, going back and forth with court systems, nobody could find anything. I figured I need a lawyer. I don't just need an accountant. I need a lawyer. So I believe I saw an ad one of your advertisements at one time, and at that time you were still in Rancho Mirage, I believe. And then we met and started reconstructing a couple of years of tax returns that we had absolutely no paperwork on.
I know, and let me tell you where I was going with this. Is that three things basically happened with NADN. Number one, besides the fact they went into bankruptcy, the head of NADN committed suicide. Okay. Number two, the person they were touting as being the big guru of NADN showed up in my office, in my San Diego office one day, demanding that I give him the file of a client I was representing, because the client decided that this National Audit Defense Network was the big thing in the United States. Okay. And I'm sitting there looking at this guy. I said, so you walk into my office. I said, you don't give me any notice. You don't have anything in writing, whatever. I said, what is your name? You look familiar to me. And he says, my name is Jesse Cota. Do you know who Jesse Cota is?
I have no idea.
Jesse Cota retired as a district director of the Internal Revenue Service in Southern California. And do you know where Jesse Cota has spent the last 5 years?
Prison?
In prison. Yeah. Yes, he did. He developed, after he left NADN, he created a company called the Tax People. 14 people in the Tax People have gone to prison, and Jesse just got out. Okay, you have to understand that Jesse has never been one of my favorites. Okay, the other thing is that the vice president of NADN created a new company in Las Vegas. Now, what the IRS does is that when they see a promotional pyramid scheme, which NADN was, they follow the people. They don't file companies. They follow the people. So the vice president started a new company in Las Vegas. The IRS conducted what is called a 6700 series investigation of pyramids, and it ended up that all the big shots from Washington, D.C. came into their business up there, and I ended up representing the guy. Okay? Now, a 6700 series, they don't need to have any summons, subpoenas, or nothing. They just walk in and say, we want all your files. I was able to diffuse that whole thing. They wanted that new company's records for 10,000 clients, and we were able to talk them into only 500 to show that we were not promoting. That wasn't me, I was representing them. But it was so funny how all this connection got in there. And I didn't like Jesse Cota when he was with the Internal Revenue Service, and I didn't like him when he was out of the Internal Revenue Service. Anyway, so when I realized that you came from an ADN, I'm saying, well, you know, this is no wonder, because they didn't do anything for it. They took money and didn't do anything. And that's what the folks I try to get across is that Mike was here earlier and you're here. When people come here, do we mess up every now and then? Sure, everybody does. But 99.9% of what we do is just spot on. And in your particular case, what happened is they issued you something called a statutory notice of deficiency. And the statutory notice of deficiency says you had to go to tax court.
Yes. Okay?
You didn't have any records.
Right.
And so we had to recompile these records. And then we got a fellow up and we filed a tax court petition, and we ended up working with a revenue agent in appeals. Al Petroff, his name was, and we worked out to what was actually allowable or not allowable. And one of the things that he made an issue of was that because you had an association with all these consulting people to your business, he says, well, you're a corporation now, you need to file a tax return and you can't take any deductions. We presented him with our research, and he backed off of that position, and we settled it. Meantime, while we're doing your other tax years, if you recall, you get another tax court petition. And I ended up working with 5 different people, 3 attorneys and 2 auditors from the IRS. The auditors didn't even know what day it was, much less what hand was doing what. And we ended up finally getting into tax court, into the appeals office, so we resolved that. So you now are in compliance. You got to file recent tax returns. But I have to say that I think we did a good job for you in a mess that you had.
Oh yeah, it was a real mess. I mean, and there were a couple of different fronts. NADN was one front.
Right.
We also had a state tax issue because my employer is located in Rhode Island.
Right.
I live in California. For some reason, the state of Rhode Island was saying that you earn your income in Rhode Island. Right. But at one time, I was paying taxes to 2 states,
change.
which was you had that change.
So,
and then you talked about the association. That was just a track and field coaches group that my wife and I started to give something back to the sport.
And they didn't understand it.
Yeah, and it was more of a club, but we were trying to give something back. We were putting in quite a bit of money ourselves, and
so
there was no money we were just raising money for scholarships.
Now you know you are in compliance.
Yeah.
Folks, thank you. We'll see you next Wednesday.